Hey guys, Trev here from Spinewise again, and I want to talk to you about one of the interesting questions that I get asked all the time in our office, and that is that why don't you crack joints all the time like other practitioners do? Because whilst we do it from time to time, there are occasions to do it, we don't manipulate everybody that comes through here. Some people don't want to be manipulated, some people don't like being manipulated, and some people it's actually unsafe to manipulate. And this is a really key thing to understand, is that just because you haven't blown a disc in your neck or just because you haven't got nerve problems or anything like that doesn't actually necessarily mean that getting manipulated is okay for you either. In some circumstances, when we have nervous systems that are just functionally not correct, doing these type of things can potentially make people a little bit, I won't say worse, but can actually aggravate their problems or even perhaps make them feel a little bit uncomfortable post-adjustment. So I want to talk to you about why we don't do that as a routine, manipulate people, and why we only do it when we're actually really required to do so under certain circumstances. So when we're looking at manipulation, one of the problems we have with manipulation is that manipulation is an amazing tool, stimulates joint receptors, helps relieve pain. There's great research on it to do with things like headaches and neck pain and low back pain and all these kind of things. And we know chiropractic has been doing this for well over 100 years, and we know that has an extremely good safety record as well. So why don't we actually do this routinely in our office? Well, to start with, the first thing you need to understand is that a vertebrae is like an inanimate object. It's like a chair or a car or something like that. It doesn't move on its own. It needs to either be pulled or pushed in order to have some level of movement. And majority of the time, that movement is induced by muscles. So the key thing we look to start with is when we have a vertebrae that is not in alignment, or is what we often refer to as vertebrally subluxated from a chiropractic perspective, one of the key things we're looking for is why isn't it moving in the correct manner? It's not necessarily out of place, but it just doesn't have the correct level of motion. And when we start investigating that and we work out why that is, usually the root of that is some kind of neurological or muscular imbalance. So if we can go about restoring that muscular imbalance, we can actually correct that vertebrae without actually needing to click it or crack it in any way, shape or form, which makes it a lot easier on everybody, including us. So one of the other key things we look at with this as well is that when we actually put passive movement, in other words, when somebody moves a joint for you, we really stimulate what we call proprioception in the body. And proprioception is your ability to sense where things are. So when we have a situation where we crack or we manipulate a vertebrae, the brain really wants to know what's happened to that movement and why things have moved so much. So this generates a whole lot of input towards the brain, and in some people who already have highly stimulated brains and high levels of arousal rates, this can actually potentially aggravate that in some people. Again, not saying that manipulation will make you worse or make you sick or anything like that. There's actually a really good safety records for manipulation over many, many years. But from our experience, some people can actually get a little bit wound up from that, and it makes it harder and harder to calm the brain down in these individuals. So the focus we take with this is to try and identify who it is safe for and who it may potentially create problems for, and then look at, is there a way that we can do that and resolve the problem without actually needing to manipulate? And majority of cases, the answer is yes. The hard part from our perspective as practitioners, though, is needing to have a very broad understanding of exactly what it is that's then causing that muscular imbalance. It could come from a lifestyle pattern that you have. It could come from a foot that's pronated, like a flat foot. It could come from a nutritional problem. It could come from a fatigue problem. It could come from an area that has nothing to do with what we are looking at. It could even potentially come from an emotional problem. So being able to have the knowledge to identify where that's coming from and how we need to address that is what makes it quite difficult for us as practitioners, and is why we spend so much time after you've gone on your new patient visit to actually work out what it is that we need to do and how we need to do it, so we've got it really clear in our head of exactly how we're going to go about restoring neurological function and getting your health back to the highest level whilst reducing the risk as much as we possibly can. Anyway, guys, that's a little bit of an insight as to why we don't necessarily crack or manipulate joints here on a regular basis in our office. But if you have any questions with it, or any things you might want to add, or any other further ideas as to why potentially you may feel that manipulation might be good or bad, just post them up or send me a message. Always happy to chat with people and always happy to point in the right direction if I can help in any way, shape or form. Anyway, guys, I'm Trev from Spinewise. Great talking to you again, and we'll catch you in the next vid. Bye for now.